Hey everybody, Captain Foley with you today. We're going to be doing our review of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, today. This is one of my favorite movies. A lot of people are going to give me static for that, but I really enjoy it. Mainly because it was directed by Shatner, I think. It's very Kirk intensive and it shows a lot of Kirk's personality. And I kind of like that. I like Kirk. He's one of my favorite characters, aside from this old girl, the Enterprise. And it does have its faults, obviously. All Star Trek movies do, and I'm going to go through those. But overall, it's one of my favorite movies to watch. It's very reminiscent of an early episode from the original series, much like Whom Gods Destroy when they find Apollo, along those veins. So I like it, but yeah, it does have issues, and we'll get to that. First thing I want to do, though, a few people have commented on my PS3 theme here, with the Enterprise cruising around and the planets going by, little bizarre collectors swirling. There's actually another one that I just promised to show somebody, so I'm just going to go ahead and select that now and get that out of the way. Theme settings. Okay. So here's another one in the series. There's two that I know of. I have them both, and I love them to death. They're my favorite themes. So let's get underway with this movie, shall we? Now, I know a lot of people, this is rated among their least favorite. And there's a number of reasons for that. William Shatner directed it. A lot of people point that out ad nauseum. But I'll tell you one thing, he's still better than JJ. Because he at least knows the material. And I'm going to get a lot of JJ static for that, but whatever. Also, this movie has one of my favorite bridges of all time. Let's see. They also went with a different video effects company for this movie instead of ILM. And it shows. I mean, it's not all bad effects. They're pretty good. There's a few points that I'll bring up about those also, that they might not be the best, but they're not the worst either. And at least the Enterprise looks like the Enterprise, and it's amazing. So I don't want to hear any static about JJ, okay? He's a great director and talented guy, but he shouldn't have been handed the reins of Star Trek. That's my firm belief. You ain't going to change my mind, so don't even bother trying. And I'm going to get to his movies eventually. There's good points and bad points about his movie, just like these ones. Okay, and I'm going to go through all that. I want to be devil's advocate and show that I don't really have favorites, or I don't hate JJ. There's just a lot of issues with his movies, way more so than with these ones. It's one of my favorite menu screens, too, for this collection of DVDs. That's another reason I like this one. So, and like I've said in other videos, I've done all the movies up, motion picture right up through to 5 now. So if you haven't seen those, check those out. I'm going to add this one to the playlist of all my movie reviews, so check those out. And I am the biggest Trekkie you would ever want to meet. So don't say that I hate Star Trek, because there's certain things I make fun of, there's certain errors I point out. You can't like something if you can't make fun of it, or if you can't pick it apart. And just because I pick JJ's stuff apart, people give me static for that, but I also pick the original Trek apart because it has its flaws. And we're going to keep that in mind as we go along with this series. Not everything is perfect, not even real Trek. In my last video for Star Trek 4, I pointed this guy out. He was in the control room on Earth when the power went out. This bald guy, he had pointy ears. He was with Admiral Cartwright. I pointed him on the last video, so check that out so that you know what I'm talking about. This is him again in this movie. He plays one of Sybok's men. And that's one of the things I like about Star Trek 2, is that they recycle their actors. So every time you watch an episode and you see an actor, you're like, I know him from something else. And you gotta like either IMDb it or it's a good game to play with a significant other that is into Trek. You know, what other characters did they play? Sometimes it's hard because of the makeup. It's hard to tell uh, who was who. So yeah, it's really a fun kind of inside Star Trek game to play to guess the actor. But yeah, this guy was definitely in Star Trek 4. Another thing I really like about this movie, it's very down to earth. It shows kind of what they do in their off time, their downtime. You don't really get to see that in Star Trek. They're like always on the ship, they're always on the bridge, and if they are taking time off, it's usually, you know, shore leave on some planet, some space station. So you never really get to see what they're like, who they are, what they enjoy. That's what I really like about this movie. I don't know why people give it so much static. This movie is amazing for characters and character relationships. The trifecta we have with Spock, Bones, and McCoy is beautifully done in this movie. Most of the characters have significant roles, like Star Trek 4. They kind of get a chance to shine. A lot of people generalize things, and this is just, it's directed by Shatner, it's a bad movie. And you don't take the time to actually take it apart piece by piece, scene by scene, and actually look at what they're trying to do. And that's got to be done more often. Yeah. I don't know what to say. It's one of my favorite movies, and everybody's going to give me static for that, and I don't know why. There's some people that, I don't know, with this movie you either hate it or you love it. I don't think there's very much in between with this one. I just happen to love it, so shoot me. It's definitely above the motion picture. I have to come up with a ranking system for the movies. As I watch them, it kind of changes in my head sometimes. So maybe at the end of this video series, I'll just do a recap of all the movies and kind of give you the ones I'd most like to watch to the least want to watch. Because I love them all. Even JJ's. I saw the first JJ movie 7 times in the theater. Just for all you JJ haters out there, or JJ lovers out there, sorry. When I bashed JJ, I saw the first one 7 times in the theater. I enjoy it as an action sci-fi adventure. It's awesome. Star Trek? Meh. Could be better. Could always be better. And of course, McCoy. Being McCoy. I love McCoy.
You enjoy yourself, you'll be able to relax. You call this relaxing? I was right. Not careful, I'll end up talking to myself.
And of course, Spock shows up in a second with the jet boots on. This scene here, you can tell it was done on a soundstage and that they're hanging horizontally because all the branches on the trees are doing this towards the rock. So you can tell that he's on a harness horizontal and all the trees are put this way because all the branches are falling towards the ground, or towards the rock face in this case. Something's always bugged me. Like I said, I've watched these all as a kid, so I have a kid's perspective on a lot of things. I noticed things when I was a kid that I probably wouldn't notice as an adult, and I'd like to point those out also. This is before the Next Generation. Well, I don't know if this is before the Next Generation or not. But anyway, we got a sexy little Romulan here without the forehead and the V's that the Next Generation put on their Romulans. This is a hot little Romulan hottie, you know what I'm saying? And of course you got the 3-breasted cat woman. You can tell Shatner did this, yeah? Yeah. And here she is, Caitlin Dar.
Gentlemen, I'm Caitlin Dar.
Oh. And of course he is in the next movie, Star Trek 6. He plays Gorgon, the Klingon Chancellor. So keeping the tradition of recycling their actors. And of course, the city is called Paradise City, so every time I hear Guns N' Roses, take me down to Paradise City with it. Yeah, there I go singing again. Every video, it seems, I end up singing. I hate singing in public. But since it's just, you know, you and me, the camera and me, I feel comfortable. I won't be dancing, though. Well, I kind of do dance in some of the videos. Inhibition's gone when it's just me and an iPad. And of course, we got introduced to the Enterprise A in the end of the last movie. Put together by monkeys. Fine, but half the doors won't open. And guess whose job it is to make it right? That's because they rushed development of it. And this bridge, I love this bridge. It's one of my favorite Enterprise bridges, which I'm also going to get static for from a lot of you guys, I'm sure. But I like the look. It's a slick look. The fuck? This makes me scratch my head about as much as Uhura and Spock in the JJ movies. It's just kind of like a last minute added thing, like this relationship between these two. But whatever, I mean, it is what it is. Oh, the panels, I love this look. The blue and green with the black panels, all touchscreen. That's my idea of a slick computer setup. Next Generation with the oranges and the yellows and the, you know, not really my thing. But then there's also the, see, I like the way they did the computers. The original series had the red, white, or the red and yellow, the very bright colors flashing. And then, of course, they went to this in the movies, and then the Next Generation developed a little bit into different colors. Sequential. And then Enterprise even added to that by having their computers be the same color as the TOS ones. And you can argue and you can complain that Enterprise never happened. I agree with you 100%. It fucked up the timeline. There was no NX-01. But just think of it as an alternate universe. Maybe the beginning of the JJ verse. It's just an alternate dimension, or an alternate universe, something like that. Accept it for what it is. Just watch it. It's a good series. I'm not 100% happy with it because they did screw up the timeline, but so look, the sun's come out. It's a miracle. I love it. The helmsman got lost. This scene, the campfire scene, is awesome. This shows their relationship. Like I said in the last video, we haven't really seen a lot of interplay between these three. Especially McCoy and Spock. So this scene makes me happy. As I stated in my last video, in the motion picture there was no real interplay between McCoy and Spock. In Star Trek 2 they didn't even have a scene together. In Star Trek 3 Spock was dead. In Star Trek 4 they had their banter going back and forth again, which was the original series. And it made me happy, and that's one of the reasons that Star Trek 4, I think, was so successful. This, we have it again, and I love it. It's what makes Star Trek for me, is these three core characters and their back and forth. Oh, sorry, Block and Kirk. He's the most important guy. Come on now. Whiskey.
Bourbon and beans, an explosive combination. Thanks, Spock and Andy. Are you kidding? With that Vulcan metabolism, he could eat a bowl of termites and it wouldn't bother. As you were so fond of pointing out, Doctor. Well, it certainly doesn't show.
Thank you.
How do you like that? This guy never changes.
And I love how after, you know, Spock's Katra was in McCoy, since then Spock has kind of like a human, kind of has a little bit of McCoy's personality, McCoy's humor. You really see it in the next movie, Star Trek 6, and I'll point that out as well. But it's interesting the way that he's kind of changed and become more humanized because of McCoy holding his Contra.
That you should have been killed when you fell off that mountain. It crossed my mind. And even as I fell,
I knew I wouldn't die.
I thought he was the only one who was immortal. Well, isn't that? I knew I wouldn't die because
Two of you were with me. I always know when I die, I'll die alone.
I've always known. I'll die alone.
A lot of people give guff to that saying too because, oh, he died with Picard with him. Are you fucking new?
Reserve a room for me.
He doesn't have his boys with him. He doesn't have Spock and McCoy. That's why he was alone. He could have been with 50 other people from the Next Generation. He would have still been alone. He was out of place, out of time, and he was alone, essentially, in Star Trek Generations. So he did die alone. And ever since this movie comes out, every time I eat marshmallows, I call them marshmelons.
I'm preparing to toast a marshmallow. I'll be there.
You know, you can actually get that marshmallow dispenser. It was a giveaway a few years ago. I forget where, but you can actually find them at conventions and stuff. They hold a few marshmallows, and they like come up. So my kids don't understand why I call them marshmelons, but anyway, they're marshmelons. I don't know how you can be a true Star Trek fan and not enjoy at least this scene from this movie. Just, I don't want to keep saying it, but the interplay between these characters is awesome. And to see it on the big screen, very cool. So I think Shatner did quite a few things right in this movie. He also did a few JJ-esque things, but we'll get to that when we get to that. There's one of the other Voyager probes that wasn't so lucky as to be rescued by an alien race and repaired so that it could go home. Instead, it gets picked off by a badass punk Klingon. And where is the spotlight on the shuttlecraft? I've looked at the shuttlecraft. I've built shuttlecrafts. There's no spotlight on it. When you see it take off and fly away later, where is the spotlight coming from?
Mr. Scott apologizes for having to send the shuttlecraft. The transporter beam is not operational. Captain.
Conveniently, yet again, the transporters are not working.
Why didn't you beat my communicator?
You forgot to take it with you.
Oh, why did I do that?
Well, gentlemen, it appears Shirley has been canceled.
Pack up your
Got your
trash.
trash.
See, spotlight. And when it flies away, well, I guess those lights under there could be a spotlight-ish thing. Maybe just the middle one was on really bright. Who knows? Now that I've taken a better look at it, it's possible that there was a spotlight there. So, sorry. This scene's cool. In front of the moon, love it. So far, I don't see any problems with the special effects in this movie. And I pointed these out in Star Trek, the motion picture. These little flashy lights that go back and forth. Also Star Trek 2, I pointed them out. They got to do something. These little lights go back and forth. I love how that's in every science fiction movie. They make fun of it in Airplane 2 with William Shatner. It's like, these lights, they go back and forth. They got to do something. Find out what they do. Just kind of funny. And this scene coming up. With the old turbo lifts, you can see when they were going up and sideways. Up, 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 up. They were in the shuttle bay. They're still going straight up. That is supposed to indicate direction of movement. Now, as we all know, the turbo shaft's in this ship. From the shuttle bay, you'd probably go up 1 or 2 decks and then straight across the whole length of the secondary hull to the neck, to the dorsal connector. Go up, go over, and then go up again to the bridge. So there should have been some up, sideways, up to that movement. To have that go up, 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 up. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's just flashing lights. It doesn't mean anything. It actually does, especially in the original series. So logically, this should may also be the same way. So that's one mistake right there that I'm not very. And again, I'll say it again, I like this bridge.
Captain on the bridge.
That is actually William Shatner's daughter. He had no idea that she was going to be on set that day. So it was kind of interesting that his daughter was the one that was the yeoman that day. So I guess there's no sexual harassment on the bridge this particular day.
Can you clear that up? Can we have a quiet?
And that is producer Harv Bennett, who, when he started the Star Trek franchise, didn't know anything about Star Trek, wasn't a Star Trek fan, much like JJ. However, Harv Bennett had enough sense to realize that you don't screw with something as precious as Star Trek, because they have very dedicated fans. Harv Bennett learned about Star Trek and did a great job in making sure that Star Trek's vision remained true to itself. And of course, Kirk says, well, surely, oh, here we go.
With all due respect, the Enterprise is a disaster. There must be other ships in the quadrant. Other ships, yes. But no experience.
For once in Star Trek history, there's other ships in the quadrant. But this time, we need Captain Kirk. Directed by Shatner, do you think? I kind of like it, though, because Kirk is Kirk.
But the Klingons respond.
This is just a cool little scene. I miss my old chair.
What's the matter, Jim? That's my old ship.
And the look on Spock's face is awesome. Oh. It's cool to see the Captain's Log book. It's actually a book, which is cool. I want one. Maybe one that works a bit better than that, but I want one. I love it with the emblem on there. Enterprise.
Captain.
There's his daughter again.
Hostage information you requested.
Go on the screen.
I should look and see if they actually have a prop of that you can buy, because I think that'd be cool to own one of those. The scene coming up where Chekhov speaks to Sybok. So then Captain Pavel Chekhov.
Federation starship.
This is Captain Pavel Chekhov speaking.
But if you know, I don't know if Sybok would know this, but if you know, he still has his commander bars on. He doesn't have his captain's bar on.
Chekhov, what consequences did you have in mind?
Sybok might not know the difference, so I, take that with a grain of salt. But he's still got his commander bars on. I checked for that actually, because I thought maybe he'd switch them up.
We estimate arrival within
See, commander bars.
I imagine the Klingons will be quite angry.
Unless they're understatement, they are likely to destroy the planet.
But it's fortunate.
Now, I've never really found Uhura attractive. I'm sure a lot of people do. But at this point, she's like 50 plus. So the only reaction I have to this whole thing is, I mean, I guess she doesn't, the silhouette doesn't look bad for her age. And in the future, I'm sure that people that are 60 are still in top shape, condition-wise, but still, damn. I love the one guy when they pull the phasers at him. Ah, oh, damn.
Hello, boys. I've always wanted to play to a captive audience.
Hold your horse, Captain. I'm scanning. I love the humor in this one. That's what I mean. Like, that's what a lot of Star Trek movies are missing, is humor. And I think Shatner did a great job. I don't care what anybody says. And of course, any movie with Kirk Fu, awesome. Kirk Fu fighting is the best kind of fighting. I wish I could master Kirk Fu. Bunch of double axe handles to the back of the neck, some drop kicks, And the Vulcan neck pinch works on horses, apparently. Meh.
Roger, coming in.
And of course, Kirk has to tangle with the three-breasted lady. But apparently he's freaking super strong, or she's super light, because he like lifts her up and like chucks her into like the pool table, which is literally a pool table because it's got water on the surface. It's a pool on a table. Oh, watch this. He like picks her up and like chucks her. Like, the fuck? Was he on steroids? What's going on with that? Either that or the cat woman has like hollow bones. So like she's really light. I don't know.
Would you mind handing over your weapons?
I really like these away team outfits. I think they're very cool looking. I used to have a sweater like that. Like a military type sweater with the shoulder pads. I like that design. I should actually make up a costume like that for my next Star Trek convention. Noel, my friend Noel, if you're watching, that's what you need. I think you were working on one of these, weren't you? You were just looking for the boots. But yeah, definitely a cool outfit. One of my favorites. Beautiful shot of the Enterprise. The effects in this aren't that bad. I don't know why everybody gives them static. Once again, another cool shot. I also love how every Bird of Prey bridge is different. They're actually customized for their captains. So it's kind of cool that way. Like I stated in an earlier video, I do have the Klingon Bird of Prey Haynes Workshop Manual, which talks about the Birds of Prey in detail. And yeah, they have customized bridges for their captains, which is kind of cool. So they're never, well, I don't know if there's two the same or not, but this scene's kind of with the shuttle. Looks kind of fake.
Once we've taken control
But
of the vessel, we'll bring up the rest of our followers.
I never noticed this before, but on his armband there, instead of their years of service like they have on the away suits on Star Trek 2, he's got his captain's bars on his sleeve there. I never noticed that before. Just a little something. I love this, how it's just like on an aircraft carrier. If the F-14 or whatever doesn't hit the arresting cable with the hook, they have the emergency barricade there to stop them from. That's kind of cool. And this is neat. So they're estimating the new course arrival, which is the Galactic Center, I might add. 6.7 hours at present speed of warp 7.
It's time I announced my intentions to the rest of the ship.
This is like the JJ verse, where they can get from Earth to Kronos and back in one day. It would take weeks at like high warp to get to the edge of Klingon-controlled territory. But anyway, so these guys are going to the Galactic Center in 6 hours. No, it would take a lot longer than that. This is where this movie and JJ's movie have something in common. Can't believe I just said that. Anyhow. I just realized I made a mistake earlier in this video when I said Whom Gods Destroy for the one with Apollo. Sorry, it's actually Who Mourns for Adonis. I got the title mixed up and I apologize. I know a lot of you are going to freak out. You probably already commented on it to correct me on it, and I realized it after the fact. I'm not great with the episode titles per se, but I know the content anyway. And the jailbreak is pretty much awesome. The thing that confuses me is there's a whole ship full of Starfleet personnel. It's not like they're a skeleton crew. It's not like Star Trek 3 where there's just the 5 of them. So Why is no one storming the bridge? Why are we just... Oh, Cyborg's in charge now. Okay, that's cool. Our captain's in the brig? Sweet. There must be a reason for that. And for Uhura and Sulu not to tell Cyborg to go find Scotty, you wouldn't want Scotty running around the ship. Unless, of course, they were hoping that he's going to free them. These are very inconveniently placed in a corridor, don't you think? Don't you think you could have just moved them up? If you need to run through there in an emergency situation, that's just kind of very dangerous, don't you think? That's amazing about it. Oh, this ship like the back of my hand. See the corridor? I'm going to rewind because you got to see the corridor. That's definitely an Enterprise D corridor. They didn't even bother changing the set dressings at all. That's a Galaxy class corridor. And this scene is full of things that piss me off. This is a turbolift shaft. Fair enough. Pretty big fucking turbolift, first of all. Look at the size of it. Must be a cargo turbolift. Well, no, I guess it's alright. Here we go, jumping over the obstacles. Oh, look, there's Scotty. Climbing, climbing, climbing. Climbing, climbing. Look at that. Deck 12. We'll get into that in a second. Good thing Kirk started the movie off climbing El Capitan, eh? He's got practice. McCoy looks a little winded. Where's Spock? You can see the support holding him, the shadow of it. How did he get up all these decks to come down to them? Did he take another turbolift somewhere? It's kind of sketchy. And it is funny, this scene, but at the same time, you can see clearly what's going on with what's supporting him. Deck 10. Okay, here we go. Watch. Deck 52. Deck 64. Deck 52. Deck 78. Deck 78 again. USS Enterprise, NCC 1701A deck plans. All the decks are listed there, A through U. If you guys don't know that, the number of decks to go to U is 21. There's a maximum number of 21 decks on this ship. Where are they getting deck 78 from? That's another JJ verse error. That's JJ quality error. Even the Enterprise D doesn't have 78 decks. So that's always bugged the shit out of me. And the fact that they passed the same one a few times, that's just bad editing. And it's a bad director, Shatner. It's bad. And her English is amazingly good. So yeah, 21 decks on that ship, not 78. And you can't pass the same deck a couple times. He must have went to the JJ School of Direction. And something else I forgot to mention, but I'll point it out now. The deck numbers start at the bridge, with the bridge being deck 1, and they go down. So they would go down to deck 21. They're climbing up, and the deck numbers are going up. It's not right. You don't number Starship from the bottom to the top. It's from the top to the bottom. So I just want to point that out. And how does Cybok's power work? A lot of people have said, oh, well, it's in their minds. Well, it's not, because Kirk and Spock can see it also. So how does it work? Did he do this for Uhura and for Sulu as well? Did they have this epiphany of their fear? They faced it? Was it visual like this? Was it tangible? Could they touch it? How does it work exactly? I understand the kind of getting into your mind and reliving it in your mind and seeing it that way, but for Kirk and Spock to be able to see it as well, I don't know. I don't understand how this works exactly. Here again with Spock's vision, Kirk can clearly see it. It's not in his mind. So that's the galactic barrier, which they've gone through once before. In the very first episode where no man has gone before. So we know we can get through it already. I don't know why they're freaking out so much. Also, it's changed appearance quite a bit since then. Now it looks like ink with lightning. In the original series it was like purple. But anyway, so we got to the center of the galaxy really goddamn quick. I'm not going to draw comparisons to JJ, but just throwing that out there. That was a really quick trip. For the convenience of the story, so, you know. To boldly go where no man has gone before. That was kind of a cool little touch. Even though they've already been here before, in the episode where no man has gone before. Maybe he was making reference to that. They haven't been to this planet, but they've traversed the Great Barrier. This sort of reminds me of the motion picture where I called it Where Nomad Had Gone Before. It's basically the story of Nomad and from the Changeling, just in movie picture form. Now this is very, very, very similar to Who Mourns for Adonis. A strange power source that seems to emanate from the planet. There's going to be a structure you see soon, and then a godlike creature in the middle who, well, hasn't really been to Earth like Apollo had, but thinks that they're God. So, I understand it's hard to get new material for these kind of things, but that's... I like this movie. I love these phasers, by the way. These phasers are pretty cool. You see these again in Star Trek 6. But anyway, like I was saying, it's the throwback to the episodes, that kind of writing that I enjoy. That's why I like Star Trek 4 so much, because it's very much an original series episode feel to it. That's cool the way they're all lined up too. See, that's good directing right there. See, Shatner's not all that bad. He's got some cool shot ideas, some great ideas, you know what I'm saying? So, who is supplying this footage? Did they strap a GoPro onto the side of the shuttle? Is it the sensor from the shuttle sending the information? Sensor from the Enterprise, maybe. Maybe it's God sending that feed to them. Or this alien. Sorry, not God. But you know what I mean? Where do they get this footage that they can see this? It's like watching Arena. Arena made sense, though, because you had the Metrons, which were providing the footage that the Enterprise crew was watching. You don't got the Metrons here. So, what does Kirk say here? This is Kirk.
This is Kirk.
We have a non-situation. There's nothing going on. Cybok feels like a fool. And my God, it's hot down here.
Sidewalk.
Like, what is Kirk saying right now? We have a situation? Because we don't. And by now he's off his freaking communicators. So what did he say exactly? Enterprise, we have a Never mind. Never mind. We're good. And damn! This almost sucked. Just missed the ship. That's a cool shot of the ship in orbit. Why does God look like Santa Claus? Excuse me. It's one of my favorite Star Trek movie lines. I just have a question. What does God need with a starship?
What does God need with a starship? What are you doing?
This is... Don't you know? Aren't you God?
Has his doubts.
You doubt me?
See,
You don't ask the Almighty for his ID. That's very much an original series episode writing there. Owie. Now, if you notice, he doesn't only have a char mark on the front of his uniform, also the back. That went straight through him. That's gotta hurt.
He doubts me.
we've not answered his question. What does God need with a starship?
Same spot, straight through. Got a scorch mark on the front and the back. And what's more, when Kirk stands up, his scorch mark is still smoking. See? Still smoking. Ow. And I think the scriptwriters went on strike, because listen to what Kirk says.
Trekyards, listen carefully.
He never finishes his goddamn communications. Kirk to Enterprise, listen carefully. And now he's just staring like, we're gonna have a problem in a minute. Like, why are these half-finished sentences going on? Come on, Shatner, you can direct better than that. And if you watched my last video about Star Trek 4, you know about my problem with the transporter.
Please tell me the transporter is working. It's got partial power, so I might be able to take to it here. Be up, Spock. Not McCoy. Now.
Just like Star Trek 4, they only had minimal power, so enough to beam out one of them. So only Uhura could be beamed off the aircraft carrier. Chekhov, they didn't get him in time. He got captured and almost died. And then this conveniently happens. One of those happenstance transporter incidents where it's either convenient or inconvenient depending on the plot, but it's always inconvenient for the characters. It's always convenient for the plot. Pain in the ass. Like I said in the last video, if they're that unreliable, I don't know if I want to be taking the goddamn things every day. I don't know what you guys think about that, but really? I remember watching this scene as a kid and remembering what Kirk said earlier. I always know I'll die alone. And I'm like, oh my god, McCoy and Bones and Spock aren't with him. He's gonna die. But they are. They're just up on the ship. They're formulating a rescue plan. But as a kid, I was like, oh my god, Kirk's gonna die. Oh my god, oh my god. Being a kid, telling you. One of the funniest lines in Star Trek history is coming up in a second.
Kirk, my junior officer has something he wants to say to you.
Shut it.
I
Apologize.
apologize.
The attack upon your vessel was not authorized by my government.
Now, may I present
Our new gunner. It's a very Star Trek moment, especially with the music. Please, Captain, not in front of the Klingons. I love it.
Thought I was going back. Not possible.
We never will. awesome Star Trek moment. And that scene is cool. Come on, you gotta admit, that's good.
What are you two conspiring about?
Her hair is very phallic-y, don't you think? Kind of gives some sexual innuendos there. She has wonderful muscles. Kirk,
I lost a brother once.
you lost your brother Sam
What do I get now?
to the neuroparasites.
I thought you said men like us don't have families.
I was wrong.
He was wrong. Kirk even admits he was wrong in a movie directed by Kirk. Yeah, but he lost his brother Sam to the neuroparasites. That's what what he was talking about at first. I lost a brother once. Glad I got him back. That's Spock. Whatever. What about your real brother? So there you have it, guys. My review, my thoughts, my blabberings on Star Trek V. One of my favorite movies. Especially the beginning. Half of it is really good. The second half, not so much. So I can see why people don't like it. But at the same time, I'm a huge Kirk fan. And William Shatner, I think, did a fantastic job of bringing out Kirk's personality in this movie. So, hate me if you like, but I'm a fan of this movie. So, in conclusion, we're going to be doing Star Trek VI next, The Undiscovered Country. One of the best Star Trek films ever made. The last full feature with the entire original crew. And a great send-off to the original crew series. So that'll be next. Once again, guys, check out my other videos. I'm going to have this in a playlist so that you can check out all the other ones, all the other movies I reviewed. And I will talk to you very soon. I still have to finish up my Enterprise C, putting the decals on it for my model building viewers out there. So be sure to check that out as well. I'll probably be doing that later today or tomorrow or tonight, and have the video up possibly tomorrow. We're gonna see. But yeah, definitely. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like and subscribe to my channel. Suggest me to anybody that likes Star Trek, and I will talk to you in the very near future. This is Captain Foley signing off. Live long and prosper. Bye.